Council member. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me, Director. Good to see you, Commissioners. Congratulations, Sammy, and congratulations to our reappointed members. Good to see you. It's not often I get to come down. No one's sitting in my seat. Who sits in my seat? I need to make mental note of that. They need to be present. So I am here to raise a larger issue that we've been experiencing in the district, and I really think the Planning Commission is in the best place to address this for the city. For those that are not familiar, I represent District F on the west side, south of Westheimer. Most notably, people just think it's just Alief, and it's not. It's a bunch of neighborhoods, and I have a remnant of a freedman's town, Piney Point. When it was resettled by freed slaves, it was called Old Town Janetta. So when you think of Fondren, Richmond, Janetta, the remnants of that area still exist. There were 5 areas that were settled. Carver Crest remains today, nearly 120 wood-framed homes. Through much of the success of the work of the Planning Commission with conservation districts and the mayor's administration, Piney Point is one of the pilots. However, what we've noticed over the last 4 years is that we have a series of car shops and mechanics that have taken over that whole entire West Park area. And there was an item that was submitted to Planning Commission, which really prompted my interest in sharing with y'all. Not that I had a particular interest in the item, but just the larger conversation. There are residential lots that are commercial businesses are operating on these residential lots. And as I mentioned during council, during pop-off, this directly impacts housing inventory, quality of life. Because of the work that we're doing in the cancer cluster, other neighborhoods are sensitive to the environment that they live around. From a constituent services perspective, we are inundated with conflicts of deeds and all of that. So somewhere along the line, this community was let down, where properties were not replatted, permits were issued for businesses to operate on residential property. My concern in the next 25 years, although we have a conservation district, we are working aggressively to preserve the current housing stock, and we are adding 8 to 10 single-family homes through the new home development, is that this area will be gone. It will be, I remember when that used to be. And so I'm coming to the Planning Commission, hopefully for y'all to investigate and interrogate the process of curing the problems of the past. Because this is a historical community that we must preserve this footprint. And I am just unsure, and the guidance that I've received from various departments and conversations, I'm unsure how we are willing to allow this to happen and this to let these neighborhoods go and for commercial businesses to operate on residential property. So I just wanted to raise this point to you, and hopefully y'all will carry this as a priority. We know we love to build and do a lot of things here, and I do trust, especially with the work that y'all were able to do with Chapter 42, thank you for that, that we're moving in the right direction. But I want to make sure that Piney Point's not forgotten in that, and what we're doing, what's happening here, I'm sure is happening in other communities. So, Madam Director and Mr. Vice Chair, I wanted to share that with the commissioners today.
Thank you so much, Councilperson. Questions? Commissioner Tahier.
Councilmember Thomas, thank you for coming. Is this the area which is south of West Park where Cook and West Park meet?
No. So the Carver Crest area, so let's go Richmond and Janetta. Okay. Right there on the corner of Richmond, Janetta, you'll see Pilgrim's Rest Missionary Baptist Church. And then that's Richmond and Janetta, and then West Park is south of that. Yes. So that entire corridor, West Park, Richmond, Fondren, Clark Crest, that entire area has been engulfed by auto mechanics. We worked diligently with HPD auto dealers, so we were able to pull the comparison of shops that are actually authorized, right, and then those that were not. And so we've identified close to 10 already on property within Carver Crest. And so the nuance is, because they are a conservation district, they have to get votes. And so the tension is, you're on residential property operating a commercial business. You see what I'm saying? It's a whole lot of other stuff going on that doesn't make things, it's not clear for them. And then, their deed restrictions were authored in like the late 50s, and there's some caveats for that. So that's where the neighborhood is. And if you get off of West Park, you'll see nothing but car dealership, tire shops, and all of that. So what we're doing from the environmental perspective, we are working through that with them. And I think it's important because October is estate planning month. So I wanted to raise this point as well. But that entire area, it's almost erasing the neighborhood.
Commissioner, go right ahead.
Thank you. Councilmember Thomas, do you know if the deed restrictions have expired or?
They're not expired.
So it's an enforcement matter?
Correct. It's,
and
yeah.
the parties, who's there to enforce it?
Well, there's no HOA. The deed restrictions are active. They are on file with the Department of Neighborhoods and City Legal. I host deed restriction workshops. They've been successful. That's not the challenge. The challenge is that once that residential lot goes down and someone goes to permit for an occupancy or permit in building, right, there's no checks and balances around that. And so that's the issue. I don't believe it should be incumbent upon the neighbor or the resident to verify if their neighbor, if they filed the right paperwork. The mechanisms that we have in place should check that. And I understand the argument that if we checked everything, nothing would get built. I got it. I hear it. However, when we're talking about the direct quality of life, there has to be some type of mechanism. And so that's really what I'm offering to the commission, is to inform me of the mechanism. And what I'm stating, I believe this has been done over decades. This is not something that the Genesis has started with this body, right? So this is decades ago, over time. I'm just requesting that we find a cure, a path to resolve this moving forward.
Sure. Well, just for what I did recently, I've reached out to the permit center to understand what is on the permit form today. And in fact, there are boxes about deed restrictions and homeowners associations, et cetera. But I don't know when those were added.
Right.
So,
That's fairly new. Yeah.
I'll probably go back before somebody checked a box.
Sure.
Legally that wasn't,
Sure, and that's a lot of, from council, we've been urging that because of the disconnect in terms of communication, and unfortunately, Houstonians are busy and they're not reading permit reports, although I do have several who do, and that's what they do all day for us, okay, is read permit reports, and we appreciate that. But when you're talking 30 years ago, 40 years ago, right, the way we operate as a city in public-facing communication didn't exist in the same form, so that's where the gaps are. So I'm very clear on that. Now, moving forward, there's some checks in place for more information, which is helpful. But I have heartburn about this neighborhood. Like, this is what keeps me up, because I drive past it every day and I hear the concerns, and we deal with their constituent matters regarding this, and you're talking about 130 homes. Yeah, so that's that.
Anyone else, commissioners? Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.